Hello, everyone.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Welcome to Wine and Real Estate.
Yes, we're excited to be talking with our guest this evening. And just before we get to bring our guest on, we're just going to tell you a little bit about Mike and Leanne. So this podcast is brought to you in part by them, Mike and Leanne Nicholson at Referral Mortgages. Call this amazing power couple for all of your mortgage needs. They can coach you through your first purchase or the 100th. Maybe when we get to the 100th one, we'll give them a call. And they're just an amazing power couple. And they're also real estate investors themselves. So they know exactly what you need to do. Give them a call today, Mike or Leanne. So Mike, it's really easy. Their email addresses. It's Mike at referralmortgages.com or Leanne. So that's LEEANNE at referralmortgages.com. So we've been talking with Mike and Leanne for a little while now, and they really are a great couple. They love just to chat with real estate investors, even if you're not looking for a mortgage. They just they love giving.
They're really invested. And I don't know if I'm giving away a scoop, but I know Leanne's undergoing some extra training, so she's going to be next level, top notch. Dealing with larger commercial deals and different things. So anyway, give them a call. They're an amazing team. And then tonight, our guest is none other than Natasha Phipps.
Yes.
So Jennifer has heard a lot about Natasha, but you never had the chance to meet her. So.
No, it's the first time I'm meeting her tonight, and I'm really excited about it because I know that Fossil's been interested a lot about investing in the Western Canada. So I can't wait to hear a little bit more about it and kind of see. I think we want to dive into a little bit about
numbers. We're gonna drill her. Sorry, yes. Natasha, she's waiting. She's gonna suffer.
That's why we need the wine, so we can get into the numbers. So without further ado, we're gonna bring on our guest, Natasha.
Yes.
Woohoo!
So, welcome, Natasha. Poof, that's how it's done.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. I gotta get this set up. I've been looking at this. This looks great.
Yeah, and you can put your own background. You could brand it. I know you host a really nice Facebook group. And you do your own very nice webinars, and so this could be fun. It's broadcast on multiple platforms at once. So
yeah, you look very professional. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Natasha Phipps. I am in Calgary, Alberta, and I am a real estate investor. Started investing in real estate around 20, kind of accidentally, but. By the time I was out of school and working in the oil and gas field at the time, my real estate was making me more money than my full-time job. So, I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I was not meant to be, sitting in a corporate environment all day long. And so got my real estate license and have been doing this ever since with the niche of really wanting to work with real estate investors. And really the last 6 or 7 years, I'm now this is 100% of my focus. I'm not really focused too much elsewhere. And I have a team of 6 agents here in Calgary, all real estate investors who have the same passion and excitement for real estate investing. So that brings me to amazing places like this and get to meet all kinds of people from all over the country, which has been really interesting in the last several years as I've spent a lot more time collaborating and meeting people from all over Canada. So I'm just really excited to be here today.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really excited to learn more about investing in Calgary. I know that Fossil's been bugging me about
it. Yeah, because we have more like East Coast. We have kind of central, like Ontario is not really central, but sort of central. So we need West to complete the territory. And now we have some in the States, but we don't have anything in Western Canada. So you need to convince us, Natasha.
So why are people investing in Calgary? Is it in Calgary that you're investing? Okay, so why are people investing in Calgary?
So several reasons, but first reason that usually piques people's interest or they start looking outside of their own backyard is often because of price point and cash flow. And the numbers can be challenging potentially in their local market. And Calgary is a great market for someone looking for that. Kind of the long-term buy and hold cash flowing portfolio assets can be found here. And so in the last several years, I mean, there's just been like a stream of investment coming in, particularly from Ontario, of people, tapping into their equity in their properties and then putting it to work somewhere else, like possibly the East Coast, vacation rentals, Alberta. And so that's a major one. The second one that's, especially since COVID, that's become a very hot topic is landlord legislation.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's one I hear often, like people are, feeling too much at risk in their own market. And so the great thing about Alberta is it is a lot more fair here. And combining that with your money going a lot further, less taxes as well. Like we don't have land transfer tax or HST. And so that really makes your money go a lot further. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
quite
sense.
a bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Land transfer tax, especially like Toronto, is double. So that's
and the prices of properties are already triple.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
So
exactly.
Let's say I'm a new investor and I have a budget. It's a bit limited. Let's say it's $500,000, which means I have about $100,000 deposit.
Yes.
Can we buy something that would cash flow with that amount? Is that still possible?
That is absolutely possible here. And a very common, starting point. And that's a comfortable number for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Either they're getting going or they're not. Either entering a new market, they kind of want to see how it goes. So for 500,000 here in Calgary, what the best thing to buy is something with 2 streams of income on it. So a house with a suite, a semi-detached property with a suite, and those numbers in pretty well any suburb in Calgary, if you're kind of 550 and under in terms of price point, should cash flow if the property is desirable and rentable, of course. With, I usually like to say a minimum of 4 bedrooms, and the numbers should work. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, and I heard some things about Calgary. I think you also build suites above garages. There's all kinds of different avenues people are not maybe thinking about. And Natasha, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're mostly dealing in smaller multifamily like this. That's your specialty, is more like 2, 3, 4, 5 units, not huge multiplexes. Or
so that's somewhere I'm starting to go to. Next in my career, that's really where I'm going to. But right now, our niche and specialty is really investors who are, looking for those 1 to 4 doors, whether that's in one property, and are sticking with the, residential, or they're bumping up to commercial and buying, 2 of them or whatever. Exactly. The challenge with Calgary compared to a lot of the other major Canadian cities is that we don't have a ton of density here. Like if you've been here and you drive around, as soon as you leave downtown, it's just like suburban houses.
Very flat.
Outskirts. Yeah. And so you don't have as much density. And so a lot of the rental demand outside of downtown is in single family housing in some form or another. So it's a really tried and true strategy here. And it's worked in, the ups, the downs, and everything in between in Calgary. Whereas you can't say the same for apartments, condos, townhouses. There's definitely been times where those are a struggle.
Okay. So yeah, investors, should they be kind of wary of that? Because I know a lot of people like, oh, let's buy a building in Calgary, but right downtown.
So 2 schools of thought here. One is, if you're going to buy 1 condo downtown, no, I don't think now is not the time to do that. And the reason is you're competing with large buildings who have, a lot more resources and capabilities probably than you do with your 1 unit. But there is this growing kind of, idea that it is a good time potentially to buy a larger building in these inner city downtown communities of Calgary, because the prices are still low. And a lot of them have room for improvement. So you could do a large burr on these. I think we're going to start seeing more of that as the kind of tides have turned a bit for Calgary. The sentiment is much more positive now. There's a lot of exciting things happening here. So I think that's going to start to shift a little bit, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. This is not, it's not something you want to your first property or something. But I think we're going to start seeing more of that.
Yeah, you build up to it. I was on a different podcast a little while ago, and the gentleman, the guest, was saying he was buying single family homes. Then he went into duplexes and fourplexes and eightplex, 16, 32, and it just became exponential. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Start smaller, manageable, see if you like it first of all, and then grow from there. And you need a different team as well. So when you're dealing with large multifamily, it's a whole different ball game. So you're getting into that. That's interesting. Good to know.
Yeah, I'm that's the evolution that I'm excited about to kind of take all this to next. I mean, we'll always stay where we're at as well, but to kind of add that, that's kind of something part of my goals for next year. So I'm excited about it. But for the, majority of our investors who want to dip their toe in Calgary, like going to the suburbs in suited properties is very safe. The cash flow is there. The only thing I would stress is you're not going in for 2 years. Like that would not be my suggestion. If you're looking at Alberta, you need to have that ideally 10-year plan, at least 5 though, I would be saying, because you're not seeing the high appreciation for it to make sense that quickly.
Yes, it's really cash flow, and the tenant laws, like you said, it's a lot safer. Like we've experienced some really bad tenants, unfortunately, and can't kick them out. So can you tell us more about those tenant laws? Like what are protections for owners?
So there's a lot of differences, first of all. One is you can raise your rent once per year as much as you like. There is no restriction on the amount that it can only be raised once per year, but there's no restriction to the amount you can raise.
You can double it. And
yeah, I think in Ontario, what is the max right now? 1.2% or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It depends on the year. Like in 2020, we weren't allowed to raise rent at all because of COVID.
Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So again, if you had the ability to raise the rent, even if you didn't like the tenant, like you could just, like raise the rent as much as you wanted, potentially. That could be a protection. Now, we obviously don't recommend that, and we want you to manage your property right, but I have seen that happen before. So that's one. You can raise the rent as the market changes, right? You're not stuck at a low rent, even though you could be getting X amount more. You're more in control. Secondly, that's really important is when you do get a bad tenant and what recourse do you have? And the eviction process here is much quicker. There is no, it doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter how cold it is outside. It doesn't really matter about any of that. It's just, has the contract been breached? And if so, how? And then you have your process you obviously need to go through. But to give you an example, I had a tenant who, when COVID hit, even though his income was not affected, thought he could just stop paying rent.
Yeah.
And it was a little longer than normal to get my hearing, but I did get a hearing in about, I think it was 5 weeks. And and that was a bit long. Like they were like, "Oh, sorry, like it's a little long right now." And I know, and I had him out in 2 months, and that was a little bit long, like compared to normal. But when I tell people that story, like their minds are blown, like that's crazy. So that was in very difficult times, right? And I had recourse. I had a process I could follow that was successful in a reasonable amount of time. And it actually turned out great for me because I was able to keep his deposit and got a new tenant. It was an extra $150 a month. So it actually was a very good thing for me in the end. But yeah, so it worked out okay.
That's also totally different from what you hear like in Ontario. I mean, it can take
2 years.
2 years.
Like we've experienced to get a hearing. That's the hearing, and then the judgment, and could be another 4 years. Who knows?
That's right, exactly. So that loss of income or loss of revenue is absolutely impacting your ROI like every single month. So that's a benefit. The other thing that's different here is you can charge, like example, pet fees per month, parking fees per month, and so there will be potential, depending on the property, to, you know, squeeze as much extra cash flow out of this as possible. That can give you an extra couple $100 a month right there. And so when you're trying to, you know, show your portfolio as being as profitable as possible, that extra couple $100 a month to a lender can be kind of make or break. So that's another thing people do like about it here. You can kind of tailor the property and your fees based on who your tenant is too.
And that's exponential on the commercial level. Like if you know anything about NOI, you're increasing your net operating income.
Yes.
$100 a month per door. Let's say you have 12 doors. That's enormous. Your property's just gone up in value. So I see you're drinking something.
Yes.
We skipped right down to business.
We did, I know.
So cheers, Natasha.
Yes.
It's not Friday.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Yes. I'm drinking, actually, I went for a beer because I have a meeting after this.
Okay.
So we'll keep it kind of light, but yeah, I'm having a gluten-free beer. Unfortunately, I'm gluten-free, but so that's what I'm having today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and gluten in beer, I'm sorry, I'm not very knowledgeable, but is some beer, I guess it's made out of some, I guess
barley.
It could be, barley.
Barley, yeah, different grains. They're almost like all the, like my favorite beer is Stella. That's definitely not gluten-free, but that's what I have. I love Stella. And
suffer after.
Yes, and I'm a white wine drinker as well. So
okay,
awesome.
One of two, yeah.
Any good wineries near Calgary? Do you have grapes or?
That's actually a really good question. No, not near Calgary.
Okay, well, you never know.
Breweries, distilleries. If you want the grapes, you got to go to BC. You got to go to the Okanagan, and you guys should just do like a wine tour, like real estate podcast session out there.
We'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We used to live in Penticton in BC, and I think when we were living there, there was about, I think it was like 85 vineyards within like a 60 or 90-minute drive of our house. And that's only gone crazy since then. Like there is so much to see there. I highly, highly recommend it if you have not been to the Okanagan, if you like wine, of course. Like there's so much to do. And they're all beautiful, like beautiful buildings, and they have little restaurants and cafes in them. There's just so much to see. So
wow,
that's awesome. I love those rustic kind of looking vineyards.
Yes.
That's
well, awesome. I'm surprised. We have to look at Alberta. I'm sure there must be a winery in Alberta somewhere. Because Ottawa, we have a winery. We'll find it. Ottawa has a few of them, and it's quite cold here. I mean, it's maybe not as cold as Calgary. I'm not sure, but it must be similar. I mean, we're not that warm here.
There's a meadery that makes mead. I know that. Okay. Yeah, I've been there for an event, but I don't know of any wineries in Alberta. So we'll see. I have to maybe there's some I don't know about. That's possible.
Surprise. And Jennifer, what are we having?
We're having a Shiraz from Chile. So we always like a little bit more of a full body, I would say.
When it's cool, I don't know what the weather's like, but here it's today. Like 13 degrees. It's much, much colder than it's been. Went down from like 30 to bang 13.
Yes, it's feeling like fall here for sure. It's very fall-like out.
Well, back to business, and I like it. Back to networking. You just came back from an event as well, so it's nice to see things are restarting. And what's like your business sense? Like, what do you feel this fall is going to be like?
Well, this year has, like everywhere. I mean, I feel like it was just such a surprise. Like what to expect, right? It was such a surprise, and the volume of just transactions, period, everywhere was, just off the charts. And Calgary was no different. It was the same. Like different months, like breaking records over 10 years old, like pretty substantial things in terms of sales. And we saw about a 10% bump in appreciation for Calgary this year too.
Good.
Wow.
Overall, that's not for everything. Yeah. Downtown condos, no, but they did start to appreciate, which
is a new thing.
So there is some corners being turned, which is nice. But I kind of expect the fall, or it already has been, quite busy. Lots of showings, lots of transactions, still things selling relatively quickly if they're priced right and marketed right. And just tons of flow into the new construction space. Like
Okay,
from
wow.
everywhere, from everywhere. Builders all over Calgary are just, everyone's flying, everyone's breaking records, and there's not enough land. We're actually having like lot shortages, like because
Wow.
the developers kind of took a step back when COVID hit, and the builders kept selling like at a very rapid pace. And so we're at this kind of like time right now where actually things are a little bit off balance. There's not enough lots available as opposed to how many buyers there are. So,
Inflation and appreciation is coming your way.
right, exactly. So yeah, it was a very positive so far year for all the sectors of the market, but the detached market, of course, like everywhere. I mean, everyone wanted more room, more space, more yard. And so that was the kind of most well-performing sector. And but there has been improvements across the board, which is great to see. So I kind of expect that. But I always love for investors like November, December, January, like go find those deals everywhere.
Yes.
People are distracted.
Yeah, it's a good time because you get stale listings, and
Yeah.
Christmas, New Year's resolutions.
Too cold, too much snow, can't see the place. That's a perfect. We tend to buy like that time.
Yeah,
it's great.
in the winter. we did actually a lot of Christmas closings.
Yeah.
People are more loosey, right? Like they might negotiate a little bit more during the holidays. Yeah, for sure. So the only kind of big change for Calgary moving into the end of this year that's probably worth mentioning is the secondary suite rules are changing at the end of this year. And this is hugely impactful for people who have existing suites in their properties, or if you're buying a resale property that has a suite. You really need to know what those rules are and be on the right side of things. And next year is going to be interesting because kind of the rules will have changed and we'll be operating in a different way than we have for the last few years. So it'll be good to know. So if you are looking at Calgary and looking at suites, make sure you know what they are and your agent is knowledgeable on this as well, because you don't want to be on the wrong side of that.
No, because it can be quite expensive in Alberta. The standards are quite high. I mean, you need 2 furnaces, and
yes,
it's very separated. No sharing of airflow and stuff. It's not acceptable, and fire separation. I know in here too we have standards, but sometimes you can have some shared heating and ventilation. It's not ideal, but it's possible.
Exactly. So so right now, if you have an existing suite that was there prior to March of 2018, then you don't need to do this separate heat or the separate air.
Okay.
You can legalize it to fire code, like still have to have fire safety. And so as you can imagine, that's a totally different process just to meet fire code than building code. So that's where it's been also really busy. Like new construction has been one, but then the other one is investors trying to take advantage of this, because to legalize a suite next year, it could cost you 5 times the amount of right now. So big opportunity. Yeah.
Are you seeing any, because Calgary's very flat, very lots of single homes, any sort of infill or densification with like laneway houses or garden suites or whatever you call them in Calgary? Is that something that's happening at all?
It is. 2 things. You can't have a suite and a carriage house. You have to have one or the other. Unless I'm sure there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, it's starting to become more interesting. I think once this secondary suite is a little bit behind us, investors are going to start focusing kind of back again on carriage houses, because it was kind of a hot topic. And then a few years ago, then this secondary suite thing came in and everyone was over here. Carriage houses rent beautifully well. Like they're a great income source for a homeowner who can rent out their garage suite, but they are expensive to build. Like it's a pretty pricey endeavor. But they do rent beautifully, and they rent for way more than a basement suite and are in very high demand. The inner city around kind of downtown would be where you're seeing most of that happening in terms of, things getting torn down and infills going in, and carriage houses, one, you're starting to see them pop up too. Though you can do them anywhere in the city. you can do them in the suburbs if you want to. There's not actually a ton of restrictions on where you can put a carriage house. So you will see them like way out in the suburbs and
wow.
this huge carriage house and a 2-story house, and there's not a lot of yard, but like it's a really cool property. So I think it's going to become a little bit more interesting over the next couple of years. Edmonton will allow both a secondary suite and a carriage house. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. They're really trying to densify. Like Ottawa, you can, but you need to make your house become a duplex. Then you can add a carriage house.
Oh.
And it's got to be within the green belt. So there's certain requirements. You guys have the LRT as well. I think there's some expansion happening or recently happened. So that's good news for investors as well. I don't know if it's changing, but here it's like doubling, tripling the property values in some spots. So
yeah, transportation improvements are always a good thing to follow for investors, right? Like it's just like your roadmap to money. Just follow the transportation. Here in Calgary, the big topic has been our new Green Line, which is a north-south running train line that has been, I mean, we've been talking about this for, I don't even know how many years now. So the first leg of this is like approved and ready, and it's been laid out. And that construction is starting right away. So that's pretty exciting. And for an investor, like, if you're going to be buying in one of these, resale neighborhoods anyway, like always look into that. Always look into what improvements might be coming and know, like, am I too close to that future train station?
Yeah, you don't want to be too close.
No, you don't want to be like hearing the ding, ding, ding all night, right? But you want to be in walking distance. And for Calgary, when you kind of go back, 10, 15 years and kind of research when stops would open, you will always see that bump in property values if you're within that kind of 10-minute walking distance. So it's a pretty predictable and safe marker to assume that there will be also increased density when a train comes through. They allow more mixed use and opportunities for employment and all that stuff, which us as investors, of course, look for. So the Green Line is an exciting one for sure. When the West LRT opened, like from downtown directly west, property values in and around there that year, as they opened up the stations, were roughly between like 8 to 12% property value increase as they opened. So, it's not Ottawa. It's not doing that, but it's just something. It's just like icing on the cake. If you're going to be buying anyway, then let's consider it.
Absolutely. And even for rental, like even if it does not increase the value, it's more attractive to a tenant because they may not need a car, and then I can't afford the higher rent because I don't need a car. I can take the LRT, and
exactly
that's great. So excellent
transportation. Yeah, you can't go wrong. The more amenities you can provide, the better, for sure.
Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah,
we're sustainable as well. So do you have a lot of traffic? I've never been to Calgary. We have to go sometime.
Yeah, you have
good luck. And how is it?
Oh, nowhere near what when I go to Ontario. The great thing about Calgary, which is, I think it's really hard to tell when you're looking at a map or something, right? But even if you live in the outskirts of the city, like I live in the northwest, pretty close to the outskirts, and I can be downtown when it's not rush hour in like under 25 minutes.
Okay.
So, and then when it's like rush hour slower, maybe like max is like 40 minutes. So
not much difference. Wow.
No, like it's not that much different. And it's not nearly what, I think people are used to. Like when my clients come from Ontario, they're actually like, this isn't traffic. Like, don't call this traffic. Because I'm always like, we're in traffic. No, this is not traffic. They always tell me. So it is a lot less. Like gridlock would mean that there's something very wrong. Like there's a huge accident or something. So it's pretty easy to get around. And then we are just actually forming the last leg in Calgary of our
ring road.
Oh, it's like this has been in the works since as far back as I remember, even as a kid, like this was being talked about. So that is just going to make things even faster and easier to get around. So super excited about that. Also to get out to the mountains, even like if you're on the east side of the city and it's, don't want to go through downtown, you just hop on the Ring Road, and you'll be out of the city. So yeah, that's a really, really nice improvement. That's also going to change that corner of the city a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine the kind of renewal or more growth for sure. And then you mentioned the mountains. I think, do you have any short-term rental properties?
So this is actually a new endeavor for me. I did buy 2 opportunities in Canmore this year. They are pre-construction, unfortunately, so I have to wait for them to be built. But I am really excited about the Canmore market because of, obviously, it's Canmore. It's very insulated from the Calgary kind of, up and down. And it's a year-round tourism destination. The reason I had kind of been hesitant on Canmore was there was some legislation changes and kind of cracking down on short-term rentals in the last several years. And so I was about to get in several years ago and then kind of held back, and I'm kind of glad I did. So now what we have is essentially purpose-built short-term rentals. The zoning is
built into that. Okay.
Yeah. So I feel a lot more safe about that, because that's always my concern with short-term rentals anywhere, not just Calgary, but as a strategy is like, if you're in a condo, then the condo board can change the rules and the fees and all that stuff. And as an investor, I like to be in control. So when that control is taken away, that always, just for my own personal comfort, has just made me a little hesitant. So I'm really excited about this one. We got a 1-bedroom unit and a 2-bedroom unit secured with 2 different joint venture partners. So excited about that. But that'll be my first adventure into owning short-term rentals.
Oh, that's exciting.
It's a lot of fun. We have one, but the one we have is a lot of fun, and we want to get into more. So that's why I'm curious.
Where's yours?
Prince Edward County. So it's the wine region near Ottawa.
Oh, nice. Okay.
There's like 40 wineries.
Yeah, it's about 40 wineries.
Wow.
That's why we bought it, because we were harvesting grapes and stuff. We're like, this place is so great. We need to have a spot there. So kind of like you, Canmore, I am sure with the family, it's nice to get out. And will you get to use it, or it's strictly investment? Or
no, we will definitely use it as well. Starting to keep that in mind, as well as we're kind of getting a little bit older, like wanting to be able to build these investment choices also around our lifestyle that we want to live, right? So another thing we have on the go is like, we're building an A-frame cottage. Hopefully we're still securing the lot out somewhere in the Muskoka's cottage country.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we've got the builder, we've got we're working on the plans right now. We're just really shopping for the lot, but same thing. Like, we want this to make money for us, but all my husband's family is in Ontario, and they all go to cottage country every year, and we kind of want to get in on that and see them more, but also have something that helps pay for that. So that's a project that we're working on right now as well. So I guess 3 short-term rentals.
That's great. And what's your plan to manage them? I mean, the Canmore is probably part of a bigger group. It's kind of turnkey.
So Canmore, no, actually, you don't. It's not like a hotel condo where you have to use their group. They have those in Canmore, though, for people who are looking for that. Another reason I steered away from those, I'm not sure. You had to put 50% down.
Oh, wow.
And now you're like removing all your leverage as an investor to use the bank's money. So I didn't like that either. So this is like a condo zoned for short-term rentals. And so you can just choose. You can choose your own property management company, or you could self-manage. But we do have a company that will be taking care of that for me. And then obviously I'm not too far away if I need to go check on something, but I'm definitely not going to be the one handling the.
You're busy enough, I think.
Yeah, no, it would take me way too long. Something would be going wrong before I got to it. So yeah, we'll have a team on the ground there, and that's what they're experts at, right? So let them do their thing. And then Muskoka, that's a big part of it too. Is okay, how are we going to manage this? My one partner, she's in Ontario, so
good.
That's part. So she knows more than I do on the ground, but we will be same thing, finding the right people to manage it from afar. So
in Muskoka, I mean, there's snow, like anyway, Calgary, you guys know snow, so it's not like some of the GTA. Some parts don't get much snow, so they don't think about snow removal and snow tires and certain things and shoveling your roof and things like
Yes.
that. So
Yeah, that's why we got the A-frame.
yes, the snow slips off.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was a concern of mine too. Like, this thing needs to be as durable as possible because
Yeah.
it is a single family house, so it will need to be maintained by someone. And yeah, that's all the things that we're working on now, or even cell service. Like, um, we go check it out. If there's no cell service, like, that's a no. Like, right away,
Yeah.
no, next. Like, we can't have that. What if something goes wrong, and someone doesn't have cell service? Like, I couldn't sleep at night with that. So knowing those things.
No. Yeah, it's true. Like where we bought our cottage, it's in a valley, so not much cell service and no internet. So we tell
Wow.
people it's total isolation when you go there, but I mean, it's part of a community, so there's other people. But yeah, if you want to get disconnected, go there because you can't connect with anything.
Which is definitely an experience people want as well.
Yeah,
You know, again, it always goes back to who's your client, who's your
that's
tenant,
it.
who's your tenant, right? What are they looking for? That's always my first question, number one, by the way, when choosing any strategy or location. Look, who do you want your tenant to be? Who do you want your client to be? And then reverse engineer from there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I heard you talk another time about that, and it's the person you end up with is the tenant you're dealing with if you self-manage. So do
Yeah.
you want to deal with this person or not? So
Yeah.
be careful what you buy. Of course, sometimes you have surprises. Some people
Sure.
seem great and they're not, or the opposite. They may seem not so great and they're awesome. Like we've had some people where we were impressed, but
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and when you start with the strategy, like if you want student rentals, for example, like if you know you're going to want to rent to a student, then where is the best market in Canada for a student rental? And that's where you go. And that way you're being strategic every step of the way. It's not going, well, I'm only going to have a student rental, even though, maybe there's only one small community college in my area. That doesn't make sense,
no.
So once you figure that out, then you can just kind of think about it more strategically and rationally every step of the way.
That's excellent. So you have a team, you said, of 6 or 7?
6 of us, yeah.
6, and that can help investors get started from afar. Your specialty, when I met you in Ottawa, you said it's a lot of investors from out of province, out of.
Yeah.
Do you get out of country as well, like Americans or Asians or?
We're actually Calgary hasn't been a hotspot for out of country investment so far.
Okay.
But we're starting to get those types of calls.
Inquiries and
Yeah, like people who want to own land. Like they want to own land near the mountains. They want to own, or even, farmland or whatever it is. Like we're starting to get those inquiries. And certainly Canmore, like in particular, not just Canmore, but all the mountains, you get a lot of American buyers as well, but not so much in Calgary. So, but for our team and kind of what we see, week to week, like I talk to people from Ontario every day, every single day. We have meetings. I've got one after this, like with people that are not from Calgary and are looking at Calgary. It's not necessarily the right fit for every single person, because like I said, you want that long vision, but it's very common. And we have everything set up from the property management, to your lawyers and inspectors and everything you need here on the ground, so that you can come if you want and visit. Of course, we would love to have you, but most people don't. Well, and with COVID, most people haven't been, but we can take care of everything from start to finish. And our in-house property management team has just done a fantastic job with everything in the last year, and taking care of our out of province clients, especially. Yeah.
That's great. And what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you if they'd like to invest with you or buy from you? Or
yeah, definitely. I should be pretty easy to find, or I'm not doing my job right. But you can text me 403-966-4949, or just find me on Facebook. Even like a lot of people message me that way. Totally happy to do that. And then the third piece is we have a Calgary real estate investing Facebook group, which I think we have 1,400 members in now.
It's really good.
These are not Calgary people. It's not like just Calgarians. Like these are investors from all over Canada who who have an interest in Calgary, but there's all sorts of other things that we talk about in there as well. So feel free to join the Facebook group, and one of our team can help you out in there as well too.
Yeah, it's excellent. And you put out some great content, great interviews, very inspirational. Jennifer, you need to check it out.
Yes.
There's some investors.
I love those. Like, I love hearing everyone's story. I do. It's called Investor Spotlights, and I just like, whether you're brand new and haven't done anything, and I still want to like there's so much to talk about when you're at every stage of the game. So Investor Spotlights, check them out. They're all in there. And we have a YouTube channel where we post it all as well, called Calgary Real Estate Investing too.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Natasha. I know you're busy getting onto another Zoom call.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. So take care. Thank you.